G'day, team. Home stretch. Love it. Definitely the best Sunday crowd of Crypto Australia to date. Thank you, I appreciate it. I've also been really well behaved this weekend, just to rein it in a bit. I've got 3 kids under 3. I've got to chill out now. It's fine. It's not about me anyway, but I'd love to welcome to the stage these 4 fantastic change makers who are going to introduce themselves, because I will not do you justice, but we're going to have a nice chat. Please give them a round of applause. You got an extra mic. Bonus one. Cool. So, squidge up a bit. Squidge up a bit. Oh, bit more.
Nice and cozy.
So the title today is The Future of Crypto. Does anyone here care about the future of crypto? I do. So we're going to go through a few questions. I've got a bit of a structure, but I also want to kind of just have a bit of fun, have a laugh. Could you all start by introducing yourselves? You, sir.
Yeah, sure. Most convenient. I've got 2 roles, and I'm in one of those, not the other one today. So a lot
Don't forget your name. Don't forget your name.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. My name's Harrison Dell. I'm a tax lawyer. I run a crypto tax law firm called Caden Legal. But that's not why I'm here today. I've started a separate entire business called Black Sheep, which is an exchange focused on getting people on and off ramps into crypto. I'll keep it short because we've got plenty to yap about later.
That's cool.
Thanks, Harry.
Are you on?
Thanks, Harry. Hi, everyone. Really excited to be here. I'm Madaku. I'm the Deputy General Counsel at Swyftx. I've been in crypto since 2017. And yeah, really excited to be here. Swyftx, we are Australia's top-rated cryptocurrency exchange. We've got over 800,000 customers. And, you know, I'm sure you've all seen our booth. We're the ones with the hammer, and we're really loud, and we're really excited to have, you know, one of our customers walk away with potentially $1,000 worth of cryptocurrency. So come over and take part in our activation.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Omer Muhammad. I'm the General Manager of Technology and DeFi with DigitalX. My background is investment banking, central banking, and commercial banking. I've been in this space for about 4 years. And DigitalX, we've actually just launched this year a Bitcoin ETF on the ASX. We do have a booth as well, so if you want to talk about all things crypto, feel free to drop by.
Welcome.
And I'm Lisa Wade. I'm the chair of the Digital Economy Council of Australia, which I've been told I have to unpack the algorithm. Such a crypto geek. So we're basically the peak body for crypto in Australia, and I'm also a crypto geek, so very excited to get down into it and talk about the positive social impact of crypto.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. And thank you for giving up your Sunday. We appreciate it a lot, and for all your support as well. So, look, I guess there's a few areas we can go with this. The titles I've got are general industry trends, reputation, security, future outlook and vision, audience engagement. They're the general areas. So I thought I'd start today with sort of like, where's the industry heading? And I'll start with you, Lisa.
Well, I think from my point of view, the industry is obviously heading down a much more regulated path. I think when we saw the launch of the Bitcoin ETFs, the success of that has been that there is proven consumer demand now that regulated product is where money can flow. And I think we're going to see a lot more regulation, and then I think we'll see a lot more innovation, and that's the exciting part, right? That's what everybody wants to see. And I think there's an intersectionality between things that can remain unregulated so they're easy for founders to launch new initiatives and sort of staying out of the finance area. So I think you're going to see a lot more community coming into crypto, into this bull market. I think a lot more DAOs and a lot more really interesting social projects.
And so for the general mum and pop person or the person off the street, what does that mean for them?
Look, I think you'll be the most interesting one to hear from in that regard, because it's still a geeky term talking about on-ramps. And I think that right now, all of our jobs, everybody here who understand crypto, to get from that take-up, from sort of like, as Vitalik Buterin would say, to that next, from the innovation curve of 10 to 80% of people, it's really, you know, I'd love to hear from you on the on-ramps and
Harrison or Amanda?
breaking that down.
Harrison, was that you? Do you want to throw?
What was the question? Because
well,
you said it a while ago. I just want to make sure I get the question because I do forget.
What does the regulation and those improvements mean for the consumer? Like,
The whole point of the regulation is to give people safe access to these products. And because we focus on the regulation, but if you go a bit higher, it's people want to access it and they can't easily. And sometimes it's for their own good because there is a massive scam risk in this country and most countries around crypto. The banks are doing things to address that. Exchanges have a massive role in that as well. I'm sure you spend a lot of time on that, as we will when we launch our product very shortly. We've invested in that heavily. But it's not regulation, it's access. People want to do it. It's the communities who want to come in and sometimes they just want to buy a Bitcoin. Cool. Other times they want to buy the next meme coin, Average Frenchman, currently my favorite on Pump Fun. But you should be able to do that safely and with intelligence and with knowledge so that you're not going to lose more than you can afford and you can have that opportunity financially to access whatever you want. It's about freedom, access, those things.
Yes.
So,
sorry.
so just to paraphrase, so as institutions, it's not so much of a why, it's more of a how question for the consumer?
Yeah. Well, I think the why, Bitcoin's been around for what, 14 years now? Like the why of 15 years? The why is pretty clear because the number go up. Like that's why you want to invest in anything. The same thing about Aussie housing. I want to buy another house so it goes up. It's the same reason people want to buy Bitcoin because the number go up. Whether they have the ideological understanding is a whole different thing. A lot of them do. A lot of them understand the freedom perspective of it around money, but they need to be able to do it safely. And we've been uber safe, and that's caused issues, and that's slowly coming back. That's a big focus that we're doing, is helping people do it safely.
Okay, cool. Amanda, you had a point of view on that one?
I was just going to add and say that potentially, with the regulation coming in, as you were saying, Harry, the whole point of view around access, that's really important, as well as education. And these two things come hand in hand. You need to have an educated customer in order to allow them to access things safely. And that is what really, I think, our regulatory bodies want to ensure.
You've got the learning course in Swyftx.
Yes, we do. We've got Learn and Earn.
Shameless shill. I'll shill for you. It's okay.
Oh, thanks. Thanks very much. Really appreciate it. Shout out Learn and Earn. So essentially, what this means is with customers, retail customers in particular, if they understand, for example, what they're investing in, then this potentially is able to maybe ease up that regulatory burden on the industry a little bit more because it allows maybe less of an aggressive stance from the regulatory bodies.
If I may, before I throw it to Omar, hands up if you feel comfortable with the regulation knowledge in your head in Australia. Hands down if you're unsure. Well, yeah, that's not many, right? So, well, you get the spicy question then.
Can I skip?
What will the future be for that? I guess, Omar, if you have a point of view on that, you guys are all you guys get it. You get ASIC knocking on your door. Like these guys don't. You know what I mean? And they're the end user, and without them, we wouldn't be here, right? So, do you have a point of view on that, Omar? And if not, you can pass. It's fine.
Yeah, no. I definitely do have a point of view on this. I think the future of regulation in Australia is already being shaped by us all in the industry. And it's already being shaped as well by the other jurisdictions around us. It's, we're looking at the countries that have developed laws such as MiCA. We're looking at countries such as Singapore, which have the PSAA, which is the Payment Systems Act, and we're trying to get some form of guidance from them. And we're taking the good, we're trying to learn from the bad, but at the same time also fit what we've currently got as well. I'm conscious of time, but essentially, we as industry need to engage as much as possible.
Yep.
And consumers, retailers also need to engage to tell the government what it is that they want their future to look like in this industry. It can't just be the businesses saying what we want it to look like. Everyone together needs to have a voice.
Fair. I think we'll move on from that, but so I'll throw to you, Omar, unless you have a point on that one.
I mean, my only addition to that is everything we're struggling with are the exact same challenges that traditional finance still struggles today, right? From financial inclusion to financial education. These are core platforms that our politicians still continue to effectively fight over and debate over. So I don't see this asset class being any different, and therefore they likely see regulation in the same regard. And then I would couch everything that's being happened as this is a global market with a global asset, with a global base, of which us in Australia can only do so much to influence where it's heading. So it almost feels like, given the nature of where we are, we're more of a taker on regulation than we are more of an influencer. Is there something we can do to it? Yes. Are our politicians willing to do that? Currently, I would say we're falling behind.
Right. So with that in mind, my next question on this one was, how do you envision blockchain technology evolving to solve real-world problems in Australia? But I feel like I might take off the word Australia there.
So just generally.
Well, yeah, because it's borderless, right?
Yeah, okay,
So we
yeah,
might as well.
that's true. There are still some borders, and I'll take this to sort of into a side rail of, well, the future, the immediate future is still around real world asset tokenization, and it's not so exciting as it was maybe 6 months ago, but it actually is still one of the better use cases. And DigitalX has the flip side of ETFing digital stuff, which is just as important, but on the blockchain technology side. So I'll let you do that one. But the tokenization is just another fancy word for securitization, which has been happening for the past 70, 80, 90 years. When we had property funds, we had ETFs pop up. It's the same kind of thing. It's an application of blockchain technology to make liquid assets that are illiquid. And now, because of this technology, we can make very small individual assets liquid. So it could be your individual piece of real estate. It could be shares trading overnight via pools of tokenized funds. There's a whole range of really like pie in the sky stuff, and it is actually happening in the background. People are building it, and it's not as far off as people think.
I mean, 5 years ago we had that company called Bricks in Australia, selling individual bricks.
Bricks was like testing the water, but like the platforms exist to do things that people in this room probably can't even think of, and I haven't seen a lot of it, but the stuff I've seen is very progressed internationally.
I actually have a fun tokenization product already. And if you, I did a keynote actually yesterday on tokenization and all things tokenization, unpacking it for everyone as well, talking about it. So we're actually in a unique position, given what you just said about the ETF, where we're trying to bring crypto to the masses, and then I'm trying to also go to the crypto community and go, hey, real world assets have an actual valid place in your ecosystem. And the story is still the same. It's about diversification benefits. Don't ever put your eggs in one basket. And I think there's a question later on.
Sorry, because your role is around DeFi at DigitalX. Is that right?
Yeah, technology. And
I was stalking your LinkedIn before. Yeah.
So I'm basically.
I was wondering what that was. This is really good stuff.
Exactly. It's about, I'm trying to bridge the traditional with the crypto and vice versa. It's really a two-way bridge, right? So that's what we're basically trying to solve for the ecosystem.
Yeah, nice. Lisa, what about DECA and tokenization and maybe an Australian point of view?
Well, I mean, I think the clue is probably in the renaming, where the whole industry rallied together and changed our name from Blockchain Australia to the Digital Economy Council of Australia. There's a massive shift into real-world asset tokenization, and this innovation piece around the REWAP fund at DigitalX, and those of us who have invested in that fund, and it's a really, I think. What we talked about in 2023 was 2023 being the year of real-world asset tokenization, and 2024, from my point of view, has been the year of scaling up. And then I think in 2025 we'll really get that absolute moment where the whole industry comes together, because there'll be like between DeFi, real-world asset tokenization, that intersectionality the rubber will hit the road, where these tokens and all of the underlying securities will actually be legally traded on exchanges. And the question is, will that happen in Australia? Maybe not. Will it happen globally? Absolutely. Like, absolutely. Like, why has BIDL been so successful? It's been successful because people like Ondo Finance have democratized an inaccessible asset, which is you don't have $5 million to invest in a BlackRock fund, but you want to because you trust them. And then that will come across our whole industry, that will be seen as the people who can bring access back to finance and free finance, if you like.
Cool. Okay, thank you. Amanda, do you have a point of view on that?
I was going to say that in terms of tech and how it's going to affect like real world, I think it's all about financial freedom. That's really what crypto is about for me, and it truly aligns with Swyftx's vision, which is about, you know, I think the joy of financial freedom. It's literally in all of our ads. And what we've seen, for example, I don't know if you guys have heard of Stellar. It allows for really quick, instantaneous payments. It's a new like form of payment network. It will help those, for example, in countries where they don't have access to banks. They don't have access to the FX networks that we have here. That's what crypto is about. That's what the future of money is about.
Awesome. I think as us Aussies as well, we had a bit of a tumultuous 5 years. We had the bushfires and we had COVID and all sorts of whatever. I don't know, it's quite anxiety-inducing, I am sorry. But during that time, I remember, does everyone remember tapping your debit card and it was 0%? Now it's not, right? It's 1%. What happened there? And do you think...
Did you see the US Senate stuff where they were talking to Visa and MasterCard and they have 50% profit margins? Plus. And that's the 1% that you're paying.
Do you think crypto can get rid of that efficiently? Or is it... again, we've got an opportunity here, I suppose, to... Lisa?
My epiphany on that happened when Solana released their phone. And I was like, why the hell would Solana have a phone? And then I was out somewhere and somebody said, oh, Apple charged that 0.15. So the banks don't even make that money. That's Apple. Google makes it free. And then all of a sudden I had this moment where I was like, well, okay, if a guy sitting in his lounge room can validate that Solana transaction that my phone makes, and we can democratize that fee, that is where crypto can really make a difference. And so from my point of view, that was where I had that moment where, yeah, I bought Solana and really saw the potential for our industry to disrupt those very fees. I mean, Apple is $1 trillion company and they're charging you every time you pay money.
I might be showing my age a little bit, which is I used to appreciate the power of Visa and MasterCard when I used to see a manual check-in thing. But so they could warrant a 1% fee now. But like for the people in the room, the general consumer, I don't think they can anymore. So what's your point of view on where that could go in Australia? Like again, we're a really good test market, right?
I mean, I would say there's a difference between borrowing money that you don't have to pay for 28 days, right? And so you're paying a fee because that's effectively a line of credit, versus I actually have the money in my account and I just want to transact.
Totally.
So
Debit.
I think we need to specify that depends on the card of tap and pay. Not all tap and pay is made equal. But given that, I think tap and pay, when I already own my money and we're moving towards zero currency, paying for it doesn't make sense. How are you going to justify that? But if there's a line of credit that's making money off of late fees, you know, that makes sense. You're actually paying for a service. I always believe that if there's value, then you should be charged for it.
Totally.
I can also ask another question, because we both worked at NAB together. Is that fee really only 1%? What are the hidden fees?
Well, I don't know. You tell me. Or rhetorical.
Putting me on the spot on purpose, I think.
Look, from an audience engagement perspective, Aussies are trailblazers, but we're also fast followers. Which one do you think we are? What's your point of view?
Look, we're all convicts still at heart. And that's why I'm stealing your research. Yeah, 11.35 million users in Australia use crypto. That's Swyftx Research. I have to give them credit. Sorry, I'm stealing all of your thunder. Which is about a third of the population. That's a lot. Average investment size, about 5,000 invested. I'm not very good at math, but it's around 60 billion.
But it's not a third of the news coverage, is it?
No, it's not. It's not a third of what the banks are thinking about. It's not a third of what Visa and MasterCard are thinking about. You know, Visa bought like a CryptoPunk. We're like, what are you doing? Like they were thinking about it, but like a tiny bit, like not enough. And there is plenty of room for disruptors to come in and make payment networks more efficient. There's lots of really good Australian stablecoins that haven't had the uptake because Visa and MasterCard have that entire network owned. And Visa and MasterCard are trying to do some things, but not to give fees back to consumers. Whereas the innovators are saying, let's make it super, super cheap as we possibly can, to get volume to disrupt that market. That's what we're doing. Our spreads are super low. Our payment fees are direct cost passed on so that it's all transparent.
Yeah.
Because transparency in payments is very, very low,
Yeah.
And in crypto generally, and passing that on is good.
Let me shift this. We'll do questions later if we have time. Thank you, sir. Let me shift this slightly. If you could wave a magic wand over the Australian crypto industry, what would you do? I'll start with you, Lisa, if that's okay.
I would bring everybody home who had to go and live overseas because they thought they couldn't innovate here, and just have many, many more innovation hubs and much more support for the industry.
What do you think the barrier to innovation in Australia is then?
I think it's the regulation. I think lots of really good, smart people have had to go offshore, and we don't know what we don't know about what we could have built in Australia.
Cool.
I'm going to add something to that. So,
No, it's good.
so I'm
it's
a
conversation.
yapper. I'm a yapper. So I'm a tax lawyer. I'm just change my hat for a second. People go overseas for tax reasons. Because if I'm selling a token in Australia, like you can under the regulation do that, but you then lose 30% to tax if you're doing it in a company. It's like, why would my investors be happy to lose that in tax when I can do it in the British Virgin Islands? I can move to Dubai and not have to pay that, because these are the structures people use, and they have to eventually leave Australia if they're successful. We should want them here. We should want the people who want to be successful come here.
So the bigger question there then is a cultural one of, tax isn't sexy.
It's very sexy, mate. I'm sorry.
If we made everyone want to actually pay it, then maybe they'd stay, right? So that's an interesting tension between you two, I think.
Yeah. Tax and regulation are very intertwined. Regulation, they're doing some great stuff in the coming year, but tax, it's only just getting on the radar now, and it's a political hot button, that one.
Yep.
When was the last tax reform in Australia? Does anybody know? Major tax reform? It was a GST 24 years ago.
Awesome. Was it good or bad at the time?
Oh, it was good, but it just hasn't happened for so long.
Sorry, you're a tax lawyer. I'm a media guy, so I don't really quite get it.
Yeah.
Omar, can I ask you that question and we'll go this way? So if you could wave a magic wand, what would you do?
I was actually going to agree with. I agree with the principle that we want to bring more of our experts onshore, and we want to develop things more onshore, because when I have to find solutions, I tend to always go to the offshore solutions just because it's a lot easier and the regulation is a bit more certain. But certainly if I have tax benefits, because at the end of the day, you want products to be successful, I think the tax is the big burden, because at the end of the day, investors, they care about what's coming into my pocket at the end of the day. And that's what creates a successful product. Everything else can be kind of figured out ad hoc.
Are there any good grants from the government to offset that tax at the moment, to encourage us to, other than the R&D?
When you're developing, R&D is there. Other countries are a bit even more generous with their R&D grants than even Australia. But then when you go operational, that's really when you're testing your product to actually be successful. And you're trying to get it to a scale that pays for itself. And the tax really becomes a big burden, especially kind of in the jurisdictions that Harrison's mentioned. That's who I'm competing with. As I said, it's a global market.
Yeah. Amanda, what would you change?
Look, if I could wave a magic wand, I would make us all like billionaires, because I would be like,
oh, that's nice.
Yeah, look, I'm really generous. I would give us all like at least 1 Bitcoin each, okay?
Yeah.
But no, I joke. In reality, I think what I would do is I would create a specialized sandbox, really, for crypto. I would test it out. I would create a specialized crypto sandbox to allow regulators to actually see how they would better develop regulation early on, before any other jurisdiction, caught on to this new revolutionary technology. And I would be like, hey, this wave is coming on, and you should do it now. FYI, this is going to happen in the future. It's like the gold rush. And yeah, I think it would change everyone's minds about it.
Cool. Thank you, guys. So we spoke a little bit about emerging trends, regulation. What about emerging threats?
Emerging threats. Emerging threats. Scam risk is growing. If you didn't actually know, like the people that call you on the phone and try and scam you, they're not the ones that actually benefit from your money. A lot of them are actually in forced slavery overseas. They have scam factories where they have to scam enough people or they get in trouble. It's a disgusting industry. They target Australia because there's a low amount of people, high amount of wealth, big target on their back. So that scam function overseas is always going to be a threat, but it's grown massively. And a lot of exchanges had problems with that. The good exchanges put in place a lot of procedures. A lot of the banks went a bit over the top. So the biggest risk is just stopping everything too fast because of one risk and not dealing with it proactively, dealing with it with a stick. You know, the good players in the space should get the carrot. I haven't seen any carrots yet. I want to see the banks and the payment rails and everything have the carrots there.
Yep.
The good actors and the bad actors can...
Swyftx does a learn and earn on scams, just saying.
I should do it. Can I get $10 of free Bitcoin if I do it?
Yeah,
Excellent.
that's right.
So
Shout out. Swyftx learn and earn.
any other point of views on emerging threats?
I think in line with what Harry's been saying, with regards to scams, education as well, a lack of education from both consumers on the retail end as well as regulators. Everyone needs to really, I think, skill up and understand the technology and understand what they're investing in and what they're trying to regulate.
I think I agree with all of that, and there's a hidden threat, which is the big end of town completely rug pulling our entire industry, buying all the kit. There are so many projects that I know that have been taken offline because the big end of town is interested in them, and they're doing tests amongst themselves and creating their own world. And there's a massive risk that things like DeFi and real-world asset tokenization and that whole industry it just dwarfs our little tiny nascent industry, and we don't participate in all of our great innovation.
Yeah, that's cool. And I think I love comparing the crypto transfer or whatever, the innovation to .com boom. And I was 13 during that time. No one stopped me buying .coms back then, which is kind of weird, right?
I'm so old, I traded .com stocks.
Good idea. But I think, are we that sure that federal government is protecting our youth? Again, with more communication, we see drink driving ads. Do you think we should have DYOR ads, from the government, if they're making this much tax from us?
For context, Australia doesn't have the longest Corporations Act or the longest Tax Act, but combined, it has the longest of any country combining those acts. So we don't suffer from under-regulation, but over-regulation actually makes it more complicated. And it's not doing a good job. Making up more product disclosures on the website doesn't actually protect consumers. What protects consumers is holding AFSL holders to account, holding institutions to account properly. And it's by saying, do your own research, mate, and then they get rugged. It's like the consumer can't have all that responsibility, and it's not too much responsibility on institutions, it's too much red tape, making it so you can't access. It can be regulated really well, which is what DECA is doing. A lot of that work came from probably 7 or 8 years of DECA advocacy in that space. And it's about deregulation, not less, but less, but better.
Thank you. Anyone else have a point of view on that?
So many things, but I agree with you, so I'll leave it there.
Yeah. Is anyone here under the age of 18, by the way?
You're going to say some swear words
No,
or
just
something?
curious, right? The curious minds are in this room. They're going to change and take over.
What I would say about youth and our industry is that Mike Novogratz probably said the smartest thing I've ever heard and the most real thing I've ever heard at the Blockchain Australia conference about 3 years ago. And he said that the crypto financial rails were invented by the generation of humans that were impacted by the GFC, and they do not want our financial rails. They do not want to pay 0.15% of every transaction to Apple on the bus when they tap and go.
Totally.
They want their own financial rails, and as those people become stronger leaders and more powerful in our community and become a bigger part of the economy, what we'll see is a natural shift to these rails anyway. And really what all of us here are doing is trying to lubricate the transition into those financial rails and make it happen faster because we believe in it, but it's going to happen no matter what.
Any more on emerging threats? Omar, have you got a point of view?
To allow this entire ecosystem to happen, to facilitate exactly what my panelists are saying, is we just need to allow this technology to really flourish, to allow the competition, because traditionally payments are quite expensive to actually run, and therefore that's why you have some behemoths already in there that were able to basically monopolize this entire system. So the fact that blockchains come in, it's quite easy for anyone to kind of spin up their own nodes and their own chains and their own layer twos. I think if we lean into that, the reality that we're talking about, or this future reality to come to fruition, that's what's going to drive a lot of this. That's the mechanism. It's competition driving everything lower. That's then going to allow us to have those benefits of what we want. Now, that might not necessarily be freedom, but hey, at least a bit of transparency and accountability, maybe that's the cost for a little bit of that freedom that we pretty much don't have today.
Yeah, and I think that plays well to Lisa's point. Again, there's a bit of retribution, I think, for the 2008 crew, which I am one, but like what? There's a big mountain in front of them, right? I think one of the challenges we have here in Australia is, again, that critical mass. Like, you guys are here, all different companies. So I think this leads me to my next question of, what's hot in Australia right now that's not going on in your company? And if you can't answer, that's fine.
What's hot that's not going on in my company?
In your company.
My company is smoking hot.
You can't talk about yourself, no.
So it's about what we're not doing.
No, like what has your personal preferential attention right now outside of your business? You can also
Someone
say Phil,
else goes first.
I think you're asking me for my portfolio of what crypto I'm punting right now. Deep in, so hot. Anything facilitating real-world asset tokenization, anything to do with identity, all of the building blocks that we need for a credible financial system in Web3, so we can all be Web3 native. That's what's hot in my portfolio.
Awesome. And what about charitable things? I know you do quite a bit of charity, NFT and stuff.
Oh, look, there's so much we can do. There's a really great initiative called Nouns in Australia, and I have built for a side hustle for a charity, a fork of Nouns with Omer's help actually, and creating charitable auctions for people to bid for NFTs for projects. I think there's so much we can do for the community with these rails, and we just need to get people to understand that there's good that we can do and facilitate that good.
Totally. Anyone else have a point of view on that one?
I'd say restaking is pretty hot, or at least in my mind,
Yay.
very exciting. But not necessarily for probably the reasons that people are excited about restaking. But I'll talk about why the reason people are excited about restaking. It's because now smaller protocols can now have better security, because now you can restake something on multiple protocols. So usually size is what gives you the security when it comes to staking. So you can use that and you can restake it on multiple protocols. So now you have the smaller ones being able to scale, just like ETH, for instance. But to the point we were making about the GFC happening, that was actually happening because of rehypothecation. And I think what we're actually laying down is the fundamentals for transforming traditional financial markets. And that's where this technology, where we're using it for something completely different, we're developing it for something else. When I bring it back to traditional, that's where then I see institutions are going to go, this is a great technology, this solves a lot of our problems, because that provides that transparency of where everything is going.
Interesting side point there. I do like that. And a couple of other presentations this weekend have spoken about how they used to not be fundamental traders, and now all of a sudden they're like U-turned on that. I mean, we've seen proof over the last 2 months of that kind of thing. But really good point, thank you. What about yourself? What else is hot right now?
So I think DePIN, which is decentralized physical infrastructure, is really hot right now. But at the same time, privacy coins are very hot right now, because privacy is on everyone's minds, especially privacy with regards to DeFi. And I think privacy and how we can begin to regulate this in the DeFi environment is something nobody's really turned their minds to. And it's interesting that this is something that we will have to begin to grapple with, because it kind of goes against the very concept of DeFi. So will we be able to use, for example, like ZK proofs, which is zero knowledge proofs, to assist us in this regard for AML-CTF?
I mean, from a financial privacy perspective, there's a lot of challenges there. And if we think about media privacy, which is not opt-in, and hell no do I want KYC in media.
Hasn't that just been announced?
Well, I mean, Facebook and Google have been having this for 20 years, right, with us logged in. I feel like, I'm hoping in Australia we could potentially shake up the media industry a little bit more. I'm, again, slightly biased, sorry. But we kind of need to see something over there. Like, everything seems to be like dollars and cents, and I don't think we have any cents in advertising, and it's kind of frustrating me a little bit. Any point of view on that, Harrison?
No, I want to talk about the thing I thought about before.
Go.
Just after you asked me, I thought of it. Google Passkeys, crazy bullish, because there are wallet apps that are now using Google Passkeys to secure your wallet with no private key custody. And this is one of the biggest problems of taking your funds off an exchange like Swyftx and Black Sheep as well. Well, we are sending it straight to wallets. People go, what the hell do I do with this seed phrase thing? But now they don't need to. With their Google Passkeys, and that security tech has been around for a while, but it's now at the point where they can apply it to secure wallets. We've got a project called Infinex, which has got 7 blockchains, completely liquid cross-chain transfers, no fees, secured walled garden DeFi, secured by passkeys. It's like, it's the future. That is the thing that I go, well, that's the thing we don't do.
It's also very cool, the Aussie Gallery in Melbourne. I don't know if is anyone here from the Aussie Gallery? I don't want to speak for you and muck it up, but they're doing an amazing thing, which is a NFT billboard.
Awesome.
Next to the gallery up on Swan Street in Richmond or something like that, massive main
Wow.
road. I think that's huge, and I think that's a big disruption for media, is that billboard opportunity to really take things into the mainstream.
Okay, cool. I mean, that's a real interesting toe dip into media, though, right? I think us Aussies could potentially have a little bit more fun outside of the finance commercial side of things. And again, something you guys could all have a go at, right? Like, it doesn't always have to be dollars and cents or regulatory stuff. Like, there's plenty out there to innovate on. But do either of you have any questions for each other? No?
Oh, cool. You surprised me with that one. Jeez.
I've got plenty more. Don't worry. I've got plenty more. I just closed my tab by accident. There we go. Okay, cool. Security concerns. Australia. How safe do you think we are compared to the rest of the world?
High safety, but never perfect. Going back to what I immediately just said before, is people want to secure their own self-custody of their crypto. Really risky to do. People store it in their 1Password, in their Bitwarden, in their OneDrive. They write it on a piece of paper. That's not secure. And this is from a retail perspective. Those solutions, fixing that problem will drive the mass adoption. Because if you can't do it safely, they're not going to do it. The scams are always going to be a problem. Institutional-wise, we are still seeing institutions lose funds, which they absolutely shouldn't. Big ones. And there is a lot to be done on the OPSEC side. And I have heard, unfortunately, some teams say it's cheaper to lose the funds than put the infrastructure in. And that needs to be advanced. Like, we need to get better at it so that that's not the case.
Yeah, agreed. So, thinking more consumer-led, does anyone have any tips for Joe Public on how we diversify our security or whatever?
I can probably take that one because I'm Switzerland over here.
Yeah, thank you.
Sorry, Swyftx people, I do love you so much. But you should have a few exchanges that you deal with. You shouldn't leave your assets on exchange, but only deal with the good exchanges. And make sure you understand how to store your own assets and really take the time to learn or make a friend with make friends with someone
Yep.
who learns. And I think to Omer's point, there's some really good projects that are coming out where experts are offering consumers really great services that you can use that mean you don't need to learn how to stake, but you can still participate in the upside. And then obviously, the reason why ETFs have taken off is because it's a really safe way to buy Bitcoin or ETH or whatever you want. And as that becomes more common, then using old rails to do new things is quite viable and I think a very good idea.
Totally. And then I guess from a retail perspective, what are you guys doing to make sure we are secure?
On our end, we have the infrastructure to ensure that all our customers are secure. We invest very heavily in our cybersecurity, in ensuring that our customers have a smooth user experience all the way through, have an enjoyable user journey. At the same time, we put our customers' safety at the center and heart of everything we do. We have a 24/7 customer service team, and our fraud and AML team, they are our front line. They have my utmost respect, and I think they're my favorite people probably in the entire company. I think they are the best, and I truly think that they put our customers and they really care for them, and that's where the security comes from. Because without putting fraud and verification and understanding the risks that customers go through every day, and actually calling your customers, making sure that they feel safe, secure, what are you even doing?
Oh, totally. And again, I heard someone last night going, 1%'s too high for the market maker. And I was like, that's a bargain. Like,
You go to some of these on and off ramps, which I won't mention by name, but they're not transparent on the price. But if you put in, say, 1,000 AUD to a stable coin, go and calculate it, you'll probably pay between 4 and 7% spread.
I think us Aussies being so small but big and wealthy, like we are an easy target as well. And I think, again, 1% is a small price to pay, right? So
We love our Uber Eats, and our Uber's convenience stores are very popular here. We're not always after the lowest price. If we're after the lowest price every time, then one person would win because they're the lowest price. There's a reason there's so many exchanges, because they have different convenience factors, different things to make it easy. But it's when they go a bit too far and they charge 7%. That's a bit much, I think.
do you think we'll see an Aussie meme coin, guys?
Mate, there's already
It's been
Aussie
I
meme
know,
coins.
but like Dollary Doos died a death.
I think we
Sure,
lead the
someone's
world
gonna
in
come
meme
up with
coins.
one.
Some of the clients, say this is law firm time, some of the clients that I've seen and groups that I'm in, I think we lead the world in like shit posting.
What about innovation in sustainability, guys? We've got a lot of
You got away from meme
Reeves.
coins very quick.
Got away from that quick.
I think I can get that one, can't I? I think when we did Project Carbon at NAB, I think that was the type of thing that we'd like to see. And I think that there's been a lot of deep in innovation in that space that's really, really, really exciting. And in the impact investing space in particular, I think there's a lot of value that we can add to that industry by simply solving problems like measurement and things that have really held those industries back for a really long time. I think we have a lot of value to add, and like all things, we need the bull market to go for about twice as long, so there's funding for all those innovations.
Cool. Any other point of views? Sustainability, environmental?
I think there's really two aspects to it. One is, how do I trust the data that's coming in? And so at the end of the day, is blockchain really needed? If I have a whole bunch of people that are already audited and licensed and they're the ones putting the information, I think sometimes we're in the industry and we're very blockchain, but we never take a nice long look at ourselves and go, is that really a valid use case?
Yep.
I think in terms of the settlement of the credits and the payment layer, 100% that starts making sense, so you can get rid of a lot of the greenwashing claims, because now we can validate where those claims and where they come from. But I don't think it's a all-in solution. I think definitely in the sustainability space, a hybrid solution definitely warrants it, but we have to pick our points, our parts.
I just wanted to add to that, Omer, in relation to
Sorry, you're a little quiet.
Oh, sorry. In relation to that piece where you were saying, are we really needed? I feel like that piece where ZK proofs can really help with that, because with ZK proofs, you actually don't need to provide information because the information can be validified, like verified, without being transferred. So it can all be done without actually any exchange of hands. So I think that is super useful, and this form of technology should be used in all sorts of industries. And I think all forms of companies, whether in sustainability, whether in, I don't know, privacy, whether in financial services, they would really benefit from it.
Totally.
I'd say the only attachment to that is, data is power, and it opens our farmers up for legal liability. So when we start talking about radical transparency, because let's talk about that's what blockchain is giving. They may have the skew of, I want to be sustainable and transfer this, but then all of a sudden they realize that that's auditable, and so now that opens them up to certain liabilities, taxations, environmental potentials and hazards, that starts limiting the ability of people to participate in such an open system. So while the ZK rollup protects it from everyone else, the government can still audit that specific information.
Totally.
So I think, transparency is a double-edged sword, and especially in this case, it can provide some impediments.
Offshoring.
I want to talk about sustainability.
Oh, are you sure?
Yeah.
We'll stay onshore. We'll stay in sustainability.
I really enjoy pumping my own bags. So there's 3 companies I want to mention, and they're acting in partnership, and this is public. So there's Bluebird, a company that I advise. Red Belly Network, which is tokenizing staff and inbuilt KYC and a whole bunch of cool things, launching their token next week. And a third company called Carbon Hood. And they're actually all working together and announced that they have tokenized $70 billion worth of carbon credits to allow those carbon credits to be traded, to allow the farmers who farm carbon credits, because they plant areas of rainforests and whatever, to allow that to actually happen. Blockchain can be used to track, monitor, and reward that, and companies can participate in that because they need to get these carbon credits for their environmental things. And this system works. It's not perfect, but
it's getting better, right? I mean,
It's
I
getting better,
hope it's not just carbon. I hope it becomes NOx. I hope it becomes pollutants in the future.
Wait
things
to
like that.
the next thing.
I just wanted to drop my mic then and just go boom.
Yeah.
Boom. Yeah. Sorry, that's my sustainability.
No, totally. It's not, and again, it's not all just about carbon, right? Like,
that's just one. Like, carbon credits already traded, and it's like, it's now global, it's now big, it's a huge business. Let's optimize it to get as much carbon reduction as we can.
Time is technically up, guys. I'm sorry we didn't have audience questions, but please respect my guests, if that makes sense. Thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate you here on a Sunday afternoon. Thank you, Harrison, Amanda, Omar, Lisa. Legends.
Thank you.